Hello everyone, welcome to the new video. So in this video, we are going to dive into how to integrate the Google Maps API into your web applications. Today, we are going to create a map that shows directions and calculates distances between locations in real time. So whether you're building a location-based app or just want to learn how to work with the maps, this is a great way to get started. So in this tutorial, we'll cover how to set up and initialize a Google map, how to set up a direction services to calculate routes, how to get the user's location using HTML5 geolocation, how to integrate the places autocomplete feature for searching locations, and finally how to display the distance and duration between 2 points, which is source and destination. So by the end of this video, you'll have a fully functional map that interacts with the user inputs and shows directions and distances. Okay, so before we start coding our project, we will have to make sure we have the Maps JavaScript API enabled in our Google Cloud Console. So what we have to do is that first of all, we'll have to go to console.cloud.google.com, and once you go there, you have to search for this Maps JavaScript API, and then the first one they're going to show you will be this one, Maps JavaScript API. Once you'll click here, it will ask you for an it will ask you to enable this API. I have already enabled this API, as you can see that, and then once you will enable that API, you'll get the API key, and then you'll be good to go. And then you'll be good to go, and you'll be able to do all the stuffs that you want to do with your Google Maps application. Okay, so let's get started with the code now. So now, as we have seen that we have gotten our API keys, our API has been enabled already. So now here comes the fun part. We have to start coding. So I already have the entire source code created. I'm going to go through each and every line of code in detail so that you guys can make sure that uh, you understand how actual functionality works. So first of all, before we do anything, this is a Flask application. So in case if you don't have it installed in your system already, you just go to terminal and type in pip install Flask like this, and install the Flask libraries in your local system. Okay, so as you can see that requirements are already satisfied. That means Flask is already installed in my local. So I don't really have to worry about that. Okay, so app.py is pretty simple. Like all I have to do is I have to render this template index.html into into the home page of my web server. So let's go and see what can we include in main.js in our JavaScript file, because this is where we initialize the Google map and we do all this stuff. So let's break it down step by step. Okay. So first of all, inside our init map function, we will have to start by setting a default location. Okay, so we have chosen London for now. So the default coordinates for London is 51.505 and minus 00.9 latitude and longitude. So this ensures that even if we can't access the user's location for some reason, then the map still shows something useful. Okay, so we store these coordinates in an object called default location. So even if geolocation fails, it's still going to see the location from London. Okay, so next we create the actual map using the Google.maps.map function. What it is, and then this is the core of Google Maps API, which generates the map and places it inside the div with ID map. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Inside that, we will have to initialize it with two parameters. So first is zoom, and second one is center. So 13 is a good middle ground zoom level, and center, which tells it where to center the map. So in this case, the default location we set earlier, we are going to use that for now. Okay, now let's see how we handle the geolocation. All right, so we use the navigator or geolocation here to check if the user's browser is actually supporting geolocation or not. If it does, what we're going to do, we will go ahead and request the user's location. So Next, we use the current position to get current position to actually get the user's current location. When this function is called, it triggers a callback where we get access to the position object containing the latitude and longitude. So once we do that, once we call this function, we are going to get the latitude and longitude coordinates of the current location of the current location of user. So this part of the code only runs when the user allows the website to access that location. So for example, I'm using my application, and then so browser pop-up is going to ask me, do you want to allow this application to access your location? If I say yes, then at that point it's going to go and access this coordinates, latitude and longitude, and from that it's going to determine where the location is. So this is a very crucial part of our implementation. So now inside this callback, we create another object. uh, as you can see that we have two objects created here, latitude and longitude, sorry, variables created here. Okay, then we extract the coordinates from position object, which gives us the exact location of the user, right? So once we have done that, we have to call map.setCenter to update the maps center to user's current location. So whatever our current location is, it is going to set that, it is going to update that. And then once we have done that, we will have to add a marker, because if I want to make it more interactive, let's say in Google Maps, right? So if it determines what my current location is, and what my source location, destination location is, it just puts a pin there, right? Like a red pin there. So it is doing the exact same thing here. It is putting the pin there at the user location, and then it will also say that, okay, you are here, and then you'll have to reach there. Okay. So this is a simple JavaScript that is required for this implementation. But more than that, uh, the crucial part, I believe, is index.html, because all the important stuff lies in there, right? So let's go and understand. Let's start by breaking down the HTML file first. So as you can see that we begin the basic structure of an HTML document. The doc type declaration defines the document as an HTML5 file, and then defines the document, and then title inside the head section sets the page title to the Google Maps API with directions and distance. So it's a pretty straightforward thing. Now, once we have done that, we'll have to load the Google Maps API by including the script tag. So if you notice the script async defer here, right? Which means that this makes sure that script loads in the background while blocking the rest of the page from rendering. So the API key is added here, as you can see. API key is added here, and the callback is equals to init map ensures that this function is called once the map is ready, once the API is ready. So init map it is going to call this function. This is the same function that we created here in our JavaScript. So basically, we are just calling that function, and once we have our API loaded properly. Okay. So now then it comes to map initialization and global variables. So we'll have to declare a few global variables that we'll be using throughout the script. These variables includes map for the Google Map object, directions service, and directions renderer to handle the directions API, and then autocomplete is for place search feature. Okay, so it is a pretty straightforward thing. Then we'll have to move on, and then we'll have to create an init map function again. And once we have done that, we'll move into the core of our application, the init map function. It automatically gets called once the Google Map API has finished loading. So we create a new map here, as you can see. Okay, we create the new map here. The map will be rendered inside the HTML element with ID is equals to map. Initially, we set the center, the map to default location in Australia with latitude and longitude. The zoom level is set to 8, which provides a moderate view. So I believe this is just an extra step. If we don't do that, that's fine, because we have already done this here in this function init map. So it doesn't really matter if we do it or not. Okay, so even if we'll eliminate that, I don't think we're going to have any problem. Okay, so direction service is equals to new google.maps.direction service. Here we initialize direction service and directions renderer. Direction service here will be used to calculate the route, while the directions renderer will be responsible for displaying the route on map. So all the calculations are going to be done by this directions service, and then for displaying the route actually on the map, we are going to use directions renderer. Okay, so directions renderer dot set map is going to attach the renderer to the map. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to initialize the search bar. Okay, so where input is equals to document dot get element by ID search input. So we add the autocomplete functionality. We target the search input field using the get element by ID and apply Google Places autocomplete functionality to it. This makes the search bar smart, allowing it to suggest places as you type. The bind to method ensures that autocomplete suggestions are relevant to the current map spawn. Okay. So use HTML5 to get to the correct positions. So here we use the browser's built-in geolocation API to get the user's current location. If geolocation is available, it retrieves the latitude and longitude, which are then used to map on the user's location. So actually what I feel like I have created one mistake here, because I felt I have to keep the JavaScript and HTML separately, but I don't really need to have this main.js file, because I'm doing the exact same things here, right? So this is just the extra piece of code that I don't even need. I don't even need to call this. So because I'm doing the exact same things here. If you notice, I'm doing the same things here, right? So I am checking if the geolocation current position is there or not, and then I'm setting up my latitude and longitude coordinates, and then I'm setting my center. Then I'm attaching my center to the map. So I don't really need to do these things twice, right? So I think we can just simply ignore this code for now, and then we can simply have this code all by itself to make it work, right? So it's up to you guys, whatever you want to choose. If you want to keep the files separated, you can do that. Otherwise, you don't really need to do it twice. Okay, so so now we use the browser's built-in geolocation API, increase the latitude and longitude here, and then which are then used to center the map on the user's location. A marker is placed, as you can see, on the current location. Again, it's the same thing. It is the same thing that we did in main.js, right? Now we'll have to add an event listener to autocomplete object that listens for the place changed event. Okay. So what it is going to do, once a place is selected, we check if the place has a geometry, I mean latitude and longitude. If it has all the things, then it is going to fit the map to the places bound or center the map and zoom in. So it's the same thing that we did. And once you have all of that, after the place is selected, we call the calculate and display route function, which is defined further down. Yeah. So we have defined a function here. If we have a look here inside this function, we use direction services.route to calculate the route from current location to the destination. So it is defining this function. So this function includes the definition of how we are calculating our routes. So it is calculating the route from current location to the destination location for sure, right? And then we'll have to set the travel mode. So if you know, everybody have used Google Maps, right? So we have different travel modes available, like driving, like walking, or by transit, or bicycling, or something like that, right? So now, for now, we are setting it as a driving. So it is going to display the driving distance once we have done that. Okay. And once all of, okay, we're going to change this to walking. It's up to you. If the request is successful, and then it will display the route on the map. After the route is calculated, we extract the distance and duration from response object, right? So we are extracting the distance here, route.lex0.distance.text. Now this means that it is going to extract the the very first route that it displayed that we got from API. So this is the actual meaning of the statement that okay, we have found the route. Now whichever is the first route that we have got from the API, extract that and put it in the variable distance. Okay. And once we have done that, it's pretty much self-explanatory. We don't need to worry about any other things, I guess, because we are just setting up the CSS styling here. It's just the basic stuff. So I think we don't need to create main.js if we are putting all the elements or all the stuffs inside. Okay. I did this because if someone so look main.js if somebody is going through this code only and if he actually doesn't do all of this stuff here in index.html, he's just going to get the basic map thing. But I actually wanted to implement the search feature which I got from autocomplete library, and I actually wanted to implement the directions because I want to see the directions. I wanted to calculate the distance from the directions. So this part of code was really important if I wanted to implement that. Okay. So I think our code is good to go. And as you can see that I have not included main.js in any of my implementation. So I guess I'll just delete that. Yeah. I'll just delete this and let's go and run this code. I'm going to type in Python app.py. So as you can see that it is creating an exact same thing like Google Map. Okay, so it is very similar. We can also see the satellite view from here. See, right? And then I have to search for this. So let's say I want to see the directions to King Street East. So it is going to show me the direction. This is 1.9 kilometers. You're here. And then so it's A to B. I am going from A, location A, point A to location B, point B. So this is how it is calculating all the stuff. So whether you're trying to build a web application which includes all of this stuff, or if you just want to learn how these API things work, Google Maps API work, it's up to you. You can use that in both of these scenarios. So I guess this was pretty much it from my side. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll again just remind you guys that main.js was just for my reference because that included the basic implementation of Google Maps. Uh, Otherwise, I included all the other important stuff in index.html. So if you want to ignore this main.js, it's up to you. You can ignore that. I'm going to put the GitHub repo uh, in the description as well, so you guys can have a look and try it on your own. So very good luck with that, and thank you so much for watching.